I would like to welcome Bára Gísladóttir, who would like to tell us a little bit about her piece VÍDDIR for 9 flutes, 3 percussionists, bass guitar and double bass. The piece was premiered at Bára's debut concert from the Royal Danish Academy of Music February 19th in Grundtvigs Kirke this year by 9 flutists, the ensemble Nico 3, Skúli Sverrisson on bass guitar and Bára Gísladóttir on double bass herself. Now Bára, please tell us a little bit about your ideas behind the piece.
So the main idea behind the piece is to create sort of unison texture between the different instruments. So I'd say that my main goal was to use very different characteristics of these instruments to create something whole and something that was very, very related sonic-wise. And I also wanted to, because I wanted to try out something that maybe I haven't done so much before, which is to combine improvisation with written music. So that's why I really wanted to include this project I have with my friend Skúli into this sort of concert experience.
You described the piece as sort of sound landscape or soundscape. Can you tell us a bit about?
So the piece is especially composed for Grundtvigs Kirke, or the Grundtvigs Church. And for those unfamiliar with the space, it is a pretty enormous church, and it has a very, very unique sound world inside. The acoustics are very special, and the reverb lasts for 9 seconds. So I'd say, even though the piece is for 9 flutes, 3 percussionists, and us, the bass players, then there is one player more, which is the space itself. So that is I have kept that very much in mind always, during the composition process. And so VÍDDIR means the same in Danish, I think, VÍDDIR. And so in English this would be dimensions or wide areas or planes. So this was also another idea behind the piece, to sort of create something almost like a landscape, like a natural landscape, but sound-wise. And to be able to portray that landscape through, I'm not sure if I could even say different dimensions, but the idea is anyway that there are these 3 groups. So there are the flutists and the percussionists and the bass players, that are sort of 3 worlds that then sort of merge together.
Tell me a little bit about the setting at the debut concerts. Why did you place the flutes around the church room as you did?
I wanted to create a surround soundscape with the flutes, where the bass flutes, there were 5 bass flutes, and they were all placed sort of up front or in a half circle sort of, and then came the alto flutes, and then flute and the piccolo at the very back. And this was done because I wanted the darkness and richness sort of to be up front, and that's also where we the bass players were seated, and then Neko 3 had sort of their own world going on. I mean, it was at times quite dark and at times very light as well, so it was sort of our own, they had like their own little universe up front, and I wanted them to be sort of close to the altar in a way, or close very up front to the church, not because of well, the piece is not religious at all, and so not because of anything like that. Yeah. And to be honest, the concert was a failure in a sense, because I thought that there would never come more people than those that were placed inside the circle. So yeah, but which is not great, I guess, because the sound or the sound experience was very much depending on where you were sitting, which does not necessarily have to be a bad thing. I like it when you have a very unique experience wherever you're sitting. I think it creates something even richer in the music itself. But I guess that, you know, this idea with a surroundscape and then this here and this here, that didn't really make sense if you were sitting at the back of the church, because there was a bit like more people that came than I expected, which is of course good. But I remember I was a bit frustrated just 5 minutes before the concert when I saw that sort of my mission had basically failed.
Too many people at the concert.
Yeah, I mean, you can't complain.
Well, some of the reviewers after the piece was premiered described it as, you know, this cold, maybe Icelandic landscape. Did you have something in that sense in mind when you wrote the piece? Did you have any associations of that manner in mind when you wrote the piece?
No. And I also, to be frank, I think that if I wasn't Icelandic, that wouldn't really be the way the piece was perceived. So I thought that was interesting. And I also, I thought the reviews were very interesting, because I thought the ones I read, that they were very much based on my identity, and that was very curious to me. And I very often get asked if Icelandic nature has, you know, if it has a lot to say in my music, and to be honest, it doesn't. Unless that would be, I mean, I have written pieces that are based on something very specific, and that could be in Iceland or anywhere else in the world. But of course, I think it's also almost impossible for us to be completely sort of independent, because I think you're always a bit dependent on your surroundings, and if that's landscape, maybe it has something to say, but then it's just subconsciously.
Yeah. And tell me a little bit about your choices of instrumentation in the piece. Did you have anything in mind before you began here?
Yeah, so initially the idea was actually to have 50 flutes. But then I became pregnant and I couldn't really do a project with 50 flutes at the time, because I didn't postpone the debut. So I just decided to work with what I had, and then I thought that the enormous room would sort of just help me out to move. So,
and it did, didn't it?
Yeah, I think so. It at least played a huge part in the performance.
So you say you wrote the piece tailored a bit to the Grundtvigs Kirke, the great vaults in the Grundtvigs Kirke.
Mm-hmm.
How did you manage?
I just asked because I didn't know that, I had just heard of this room. I had actually never been to a concert there before I decided to do the piece, and so I just went and had a talk with Mats, the organist, who was super helpful, and he just told me about the reverb of the room, how it worked, and then I just by visiting the church, I sort of understood how it worked. So during the composition process, I was always imagining the sound as if it was happening in the church. So I was always thinking, the sound here in fortissimo needs, and then I would just close my eyes and count 1, 2, 3, 4, blah blah seconds for it to reach my purpose. So
yeah, so I guess I don't have any more questions for you. Thank you so much for participating in the interview. It was lovely to hear about VÍDDIR, and you can see the score here in the link for the video. Yeah, thank you, Bára.
Thank you so much.